So, lots of big news. James Morrow in the Daily Telegraph broke a huge story yesterday. James, tell us about it.
Well, yeah, just before we were all coming out to dinner last night here, news broke that in the United States and Washington, D.C., top congressional Republicans, I'm talking about people like Ted Cruz, Tom Cotton, Elise Stefanik, who was going to be Trump's nominee to be the UN ambassador, but they needed her seat to hold the House, wrote a scathing letter to Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and sent the same letter. Yeah, that's right. Let me tell you about it, though. I'll tell you about it. Saying that to recognize the state of Palestine would be to reward terrorism, that it would be irresponsible, especially with hostages still being held, and they said there would be potentially punitive consequences for the United States. Now, this broke last night in the Daily Telegraph, I'm proud to say, but the thing about this is, you remember, everybody, when Albanese decided he was going to recognize Palestine, and everybody said, oh, he's being so smart because he's putting so much air between that recognition announcement and his potential meeting with Donald Trump. Everybody in the U.S. will have forgotten about it by now. Well, turns out, guys, not so much.
Well, this is really serious, James, because we've talked about this before on the show, but you have, look, increasingly, let's be honest, it's a communist government, hardcore socialist Albanese government. The bloke liked communists in his youth, and it seems that that's the path we're heading down. You cannot have the Australia that we all grew up in, the Australia that we all love and were born in or came to and then have devoted our lives to be at odds with our American best friends. Best friends culturally, best friends historically. We fought together in wars. The Albanese government is literally destroying our relationship with the United States of America.
And Rowan?
Shame, shame, shame. We fought in wars together. We've grown up together. We have all the same values, all the same Judeo-Christian heritage. That is America and Australia, the things we've done together. And this government, with the lowest vote ever recorded for an incoming government, the lowest, 2/3 of Australians voted against the Albanese government, yet these mad communists are set on destroying our relationship with America, and recognizing Palestine is a key part of that.
Well, not only that, Rowan, because, we all know that Labour only looks at foreign policy through the prism of domestic politics. And in Albanese's case, this is exactly what happens when you pluck somebody out of a grubby Newtown share house where he lived during university and drop him in the lodge. And that's what we have right now. This was why suddenly, nobody asked for this, but apparently we're getting 3,000 Gazan refugees put into our suburbs. Okay, great, thank you, well done for that. That's why, of course, he's been so cozy with China, because, it's so much better to do business with those nice Chinese Communist Party officials rather than mean old Donald Trump, right? And of course, this is why he's not spending any money on defense. This is why he's recognizing Palestine. The United States now has a laundry list, I think, of grievances, legitimate grievances, not just those things. I would also add Australia's rampant attack on free speech through the e-safety commissioner and the censorship of the web and social media that's coming up soon. These are all things that the U.S. quite rightly cares about. These are things that quite rightly Donald Trump cares about. These are things, particularly free speech, that Vice President J.D. Vance has been really, really articulate on. And now Albanese is off to the United States. He's got an 11-day trip, 3 countries. Is he going to get a meeting with Trump? Well, now apparently it's been downgraded to a possible pull-aside.
A what?
It's going to be Donald saying, Albo, I don't like this very much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty that Trump can attack. Remember when the South African president was there in the Oval Office and Trump just tore strips off him? That would be nothing if Albo was sitting in the Oval Office. There are so many things that Donald Trump would want to tear strips of him. At the moment, he barely knows who Albo is, which is lucky for Albo, because once Trump starts focusing on this, so we've seen the letter James broke the story in the Daily Telegraph yesterday about this letter. Let me just add on the question of recognition of Palestine by the Australian government. We had some terrific speeches here yesterday at CPAC, some wonderful speeches, many of them, and some of those guests will be coming on shortly. But one thing I don't know if you all noticed, Senator Jacinta Price, when she spoke, the first thing she did was refer to the hostages and pay her respects to and bring to mind the hostages who are still suffering, who Hamas are threatening to put on as human shields. Imagine the sheer horror, the depravity, the sheer evil of taking people who you took hostage, probably murdered, raped, whatever, their loved ones. They're now hostages. They're living in absolute hell. They've been living in hell for 2 years underground in those ghastly things. We've seen the photos, the videos, so sick, so depraved, so absolutely vile. You can't even call it human the way they are being treated. And yet these are the same people that want a Palestine. They're doing everything for their precious political goal. And you have the Australian government supporting and rewarding them at the same time as Hamas are threatening to put the hostages out the front as human shields. Absolutely sick. Well done to Senator Price for actually reminding us all, and every Australian should be thinking, every civilized person should be remembering those hostages, and that should be front and mind. And the disgrace of an Australian government running off with all their globalist mates, their grubby globalist mates over in Geneva or wherever, New York, to pay a reward to terrorism, which is what it is.
And you know, Rowan, this is the thing that gets me. This is the thing that gets me about this foreign policy on the left, because I know we have spent so much time this weekend concentrating on, the really big issues here in Australia, net zero, and we're going to be talking a lot about that very shortly in the program. But, there is this greater global fight that I think everybody in this room here is part of. This is this fight of freedom versus authoritarianism. And the real problem is that the people who are running the show right now in this country, when it comes to their foreign policy and where they put us, Australia, our nation, our Australia, on the world map, they're taking the sides of the authoritarians and acting like they're being the good guys. This has to do with the close ties with the Chinese Communist Party. Jacinta Allen, the Victorian Premier, is over there right now schmoozing away. This has to deal... A lot of love for Jacinta Allen here. And it also has to do, of course, with the way moving towards Palestine, away from Israel. This is not putting us on the side of the angels. This is putting us on the side of the thugs.
Absolutely.